All right, hunters, let's strap in because today we are unleashing Kraven the Hunter. This dude is an absolute menace at the table. He turns your removal spells into card draw spells. He gets massive and he can trample over into our enemies. And basically he says, I'll kill it and then I'll draw you a card and then I get bigger. And let's be real, nothing feels better than destroying your opponent's best creature, drawing a card, and then smacking him in the face with our commander right after. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to load up on the best removal spells, stack our board with extra hunters that are going to get bigger and scarier as the game goes on, and then close out the game with either commander damage or some sneaky one-shots. Let's get to the hunt. Kraven is a 4/3 that costs 1 green and a black, and green-black together means Golgari. That is the term used for those two colors put together. So 1 and Golgari for a human warrior villain that has trample. Whenever a creature an opponent controls with the greatest power among creatures that player controls dies, draw a card and put a +1/+1 counter on Kraven the Hunter. So when our opponent's biggest creature dies, we get to draw a card and put a 1/1 counter on Kraven. First up is weapons, and every hunter needs their arsenal. And for this deck, that means efficient removal spells. So first up under weapons, we've got a Cursed Marauder. This is 1 and a black for a zombie warrior. When it enters a battlefield, each player sacrifices a non-token creature. So in the early game, this is probably their only creature, which means it will be their biggest creature, which will grow Kraven and draw us cards. Next, we've got Assassin's Trophy. Assassin's Trophy is an excellent piece of removal. It is Golgari, again, green and a black, for an instant that says destroy target permanent an opponent controls. So this is going to hit literally anything on the battlefield, so it's nice and versatile. So even if you don't need to use it for the card draw payoff with our commander, it's really great to have because we can get rid of an enchantment, an artifact, or a land even that's bothering us. Assassin's Trophy is just really, really good for only 2 mana in these colors. Next up, we've got Fatal Push. It's 1 black to destroy a target creature if it has a mana value 2 or less, or you can cast it and it has Revolt. Destroy that creature if it has mana value 4 or less instead if a permanent you controlled has left the battlefield this turn. So if something of ours has died, we can do the Revolt. Next, we've also got Beast Within. This is very, very similar to Assassin's Trophy. It's 2 and a green for an instant that says destroy a target permanent. So any permanent again. This time, though, we're going to leave behind a 3/3, which is great because then potentially we can circle back and kill the 3/3 and get another payoff for our commander. Then we've got Big Game Hunter. It's 1 and 2 black for a human rebel assassin. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. Oftentimes that will be someone's biggest thing. It cannot be regenerated. You can also cast it for its madness cost, which is a single black if you go to discard this card. Next up, we've got Doomblade. It's 1 and a black for an instant, says destroy target non-black creature. We also have Fell, which is destroy target creature. We've got Flare of Malice, 2 black for an instant that says you may sacrifice a non-token black creature rather than pay this spell's mana cost. So we can play it for free in a pinch if we need to. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker with the greatest mana value among creatures and planeswalkers they control. So that's going to play right into what our commander wants. We've also got Force of Despair. We can play this if it's not our turn by exiling a black card from our hand rather than paying the spell's mana cost, and then we destroy all creatures that entered this turn. That's really good for go-wide token decks who make a whole bunch of something. Then we can cast the Force of Despair and just get rid of it all. We also have Ghastly Demise for a single black. It's an instant destroy target non-black creature if its toughness is less than or equal to the number of cards in your graveyard. And with all these instants and sorceries, we should have a pretty full graveyard. We've also got Go for the Throat, 1 and a black, destroy target non-artifact creature. Lethal Scheme, 2 black, and you can convoke it, which means you can tap creatures to pay for the generic mana in the spell's cost. So you can tap 2 creatures and then only pay 2 black to cast this. Destroy a target creature or planeswalker. Each creature that convoked Lethal Scheme connives, and connives is a keyword in Magic that says draw a card and then discard a card. If you discard a non-land card, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature. Next up, we've got Make an Example. It is 3 and a black. Each opponent separates creatures they control into 2 piles. For each opponent, you choose one of their piles. Each opponent then sacrifices that pile, which means we can just choose the pile with the biggest creature in it and draw a card and put a 1/1 counter on our commander. So very, very good. We've also got Malicious Affliction, 2 black, and it says Morbid. When you cast Malicious Affliction, if a creature died this turn, you can copy it and may choose new targets for the copy. And then it says destroy target non-black creature. So if we can cast it with its Morbid ability there, we can do it twice. We've also got Sheoldred's Edict, 1 and a black, and you can choose one. Each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature, each opponent sacrifices a token, or each opponent sacrifices a planeswalker. A lot of times this is going to be able to manipulate it to where we are killing their biggest thing, which is great. Next, we've got Shoot the Sheriff. This is from Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Destroy target non-outlaw creature, and then the list of outlaw creature types is listed right there. Then we've got Snuff Out. It's 3 and a black for an instant. It says if you control a swamp, you may pay 4 life rather than pay this spell's mana cost. So again, a free spell. I mean, not free, but can cast it with an alternate payment other than mana, which is great. Destroy target non-black creature. It cannot be regenerated. We've also got Tainted Strike. It's a single black for an instant that says target creature gets +1/+0 and gains infect until the end of turn. So if we have a creature that is big enough, we can one-shot someone with Tainted Strike. And our commander should be pretty big. And then last, under the weapons, we have Windgrace's Judgment, 3 black-green. For any number of opponents, destroy target non-land permanent that player controls. So we get to choose the biggest creature that each of our opponents controls. That's going to draw us 1, 2, 3 cards and put 1, 2, 3 counters on our commander. So very, very, very good. Next up, we've got what I like to call Kraven's Hunting Hounds. These are more removal and targeted spells, but these do exactly what we want to do with our commander. So they're a little more useful than just the weapons. Having these hounds, they're going to lead us straight to victory. So first up, we've got Consumed by Greed. This is 1 black, and you can gift a card whenever you cast this, so you can promise an opponent a gift as you cast the spell. Target opponent sacrifices a creature with greatest power among creatures they control, so that checks that box. And then if a gift was promised, so you don't have to do that part, but if you did, then you get to return a target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So it's just a way for us to maybe get back something we'd like to have back again. Next up, we have Extract a Confession. 1 and a black for sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may collect Evidence 6, and that means exile cards with total mana value 6 or greater from your graveyard. Each opponent sacrifices a creature, and if the evidence was collected, instead, each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures they control. Again, we should have plenty of fodder for that in our graveyard with all of these instant sorceries one-shots that we've got. Next up, we've got Gix's Command, 3 black for sorcery, and you can choose 2. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 creature. It gains lifelink until the end of turn. Our commander would be a good target for that. Return up to 2 creature cards from your graveyard to your hand, and each opponent sacrifices a creature with the highest power among creatures they control. So again, each of our opponents is going to have to do that. That's 3 cards. That's 3 counters that are going to go on Kraven. Then we choose the life link. We put 2 more 1/1 counters on Kraven. Swing out. We get a whole bunch of life. Gix's Command is really good. Next, we have the only Planeswalker in this deck. I'm not usually a fan of Planeswalkers, but Professor Onyx does exactly what we need her to. Planeswalker Liliana has Magecraft, so this is just a static ability that happens all the time. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. That's really good. We've got something along the lines of 30 instants and sorceries. That's 60 life if we can cast every single instant and sorcery. I mean, obviously that's not going to happen, but still, this is perfect. And then, +1 ability is when you lose 1 life, you look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand, the rest into your graveyard. The -3 ability is each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures that player controls. So again, each opponent is going to get hit. They're each going to sacrifice their biggest creature. 3 more triggers for Kraven. And then lastly, each opponent may discard a card. If they don't, they lose 3 life. Repeat this process 6 more times. That's the ultimate. We're never going to get there, but that's crazy. Next, we have Shadowgrange Archfiend. This is 6 and a black, so very expensive, but when it enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures they control, and then you gain life equal to the greatest power among creatures sacrificed this way. So again, it's going to hit each of our opponents, and then whichever one sacrificed the biggest thing, we gain that much life. And then you can cast this first Madness cost, so if we ever have to discard it, we can get that out pretty easy. Next, we have Soul Shatter. This is 2 and a black for an instant. This says each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker with the highest converted mana cost among creatures and planeswalkers they control. So that's probably going to be their biggest thing. Next up, we have Zat's Will, 4 and a black. Choose one, and if you control a commander as this spell is cast, you can choose both. We see that on spells. That's a common thing. If you control your commander, you get to do extra bonus stuff. Each opponent sacrifices a creature they control with the greatest power. Fantastic. And exile all cards from all opponents' graveyards, and then create X01 black Thrall creature tokens, where X is the greatest power among creature cards exiled this way. So we could make a bunch of little blockers, which would be great. And then lastly, under the Hunting Hounds, we have Will of the Abzan. This is 3 and a black. For a sorcery, you choose one. If you have your commander, you get to choose both. Any number of target opponents each sacrifice a creature with the greatest power among creatures that player controls, and they lose 3 life. And then return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So very, very good. Ties into exactly what our commander wants to do. These are all going to be heavy hitters. They're going to draw us lots of cards, and they're going to make Kraven really big. So next, let's talk about our hunting party, because it's not just us alone out there. We've got some backups. So these are going to be creatures that we have that thrive when other creatures die, which we're going to be doing a lot of. So these are going to be some payoffs. So first up under Hunting Party, we have Shovel Bane of Monsters. He has Death Touch at the beginning of your upkeep. If an opponent controls no permanents with bounty counters on them, you're going to put one on a creature or planeswalker that opponent controls. And then whenever a permanent an opponent controls with the counters on it dies, we gain 3 life and draw a card. So similar to what Kraven does, just sort of backs us up. We've also got Cordial Vampire, 2 black, and when it or another creature dies, put a 1/1 counter on each vampire you control. So we're going to make Cordial Vampire nice and big. We've also got Hungry Lynx. This is an interesting one. Cats have protection from rats. At the beginning of your end step, target opponent makes a 1/1 rat creature with Death Touch, and then whenever a rat dies, we put a 1/1 counter on each cat we control. So the only downside to this deck is that some people might be playing low creature count decks. This is going to give our opponents some fodder, which we can then turn around and kill, getting the Kraven Hunters, and then also growing some of our other creatures. We've also got Malakar Cullblade. This is 1 and a black for a vampire warrior. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a 1/1 counter on it. Vincent Valentine is a new card from Final Fantasy. It's an assassin. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a number of 1/1 counters on Vincent Valentine's equal to that creature's power. So this could be a lot, especially if we're targeting our opponent's biggest creatures. So Vincent Valentine gets real big. And then whenever he attacks, you can transform him. So you flip him over, and the flip side is Galean Beast. It has trample and lifelink. So we're going to put a lot of counters and then swing out. And then we're going to have trample and lifelink. So we're going to be able to get a bunch of damage through. We're going to be able to gain a bunch of life. This is going to be also a prime candidate for Tainted Strike. With that trample, we could potentially one-shot somebody. Really, really good. And then lastly, we have Yahini, the Undying Partisan. 2 and a black for an Aetherborn Vampire that has haste. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a 1/1 counter on him. And then you can sacrifice another creature to give it indestructible until the end of turn. So those are other viable hunters, if you will, that can get really big and deal a whole lot of damage. So then let's talk about our armor. We need some armor. We want to keep Kraven alive. So how are we going to do that? So first up, we're going to have Lightning Greaves. This is a classic protection spell. We've also got Swiftfoot Boots and Whisper Silk Cloak. These are all going to give our commander hexproof, shroud, and make him unable to be targeted, which is going to keep him on the battlefield longer. But we've also got some stuff here. Armor is not just for protection, it's also equipment that can deal damage on its own. So what kind of other stuff do we have to buff him up with our equipments and such here? First up, we've got Berserk. It's a green. Cast this spell only before the combat damage step. Target creature gains trample and gets +X/+O until the end of turn, where X is its power. Then at the end of the next step, you can destroy that creature if it attacked this turn. Berserk is a great finisher since you have to sacrifice your commander after, but since he's our commander, we can do this and potentially finish off that last person. We've also got Blade of the Blood Chief. We've got a few effects that are like this that are equipments that essentially say whenever a creature dies, put a 1/1 counter on an equipped creature. This one says if it's a vampire, put 2 1/1 counters on it instead. But we want to grow our army, and what better way to grow it than on the death triggers of all these creatures we're going to be killing. We've also got Glaring Spotlight. This is going to help with protection. Creatures your opponents control with hexproof can be the targets of spells and abilities you control as though they didn't have hexproof. So this gets around hexproof. You can pay 3 to sacrifice Glaring Spotlight, and creatures you control gain hexproof until the end of the turn and are unblockable this turn. So it's a protection spell for us, but while it's sitting there waiting to be used, it also keeps our opponents from being able to use hexproof, which is kind of cool. We've also got more ways to punch damage through. We've got Ram Through. 1 in a green. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to a target creature you don't control if the creature you control has trample, and our commander does. The excess damage is dealt to that creature's controller instead, so it gets rid of our opponent's biggest thing and can deal some damage on through to our opponent's face, which is nice. We've also got Revitalizing Repast. This is an MDFC, which means it's a spell on one side and it's a land on the other side, so we can use it as a land if we need to. Otherwise, we can use it as the instant side, so it's either a single black or a single green to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, gains indestructible until the end of turn, so again, a little more protection. And we've also got Sadistic Glee. This is a single black. This is an older card from Tempest. Whenever any creature is put into a graveyard from play, put a 1/1 counter on the enchanted creature. So you enchant a creature that we control, like our commander, and now he'll have that ability twice, which is crazy. We've also got Tarian Soul Cleaver. It's one equipped creature has vigilance. That's really nice too. Whenever another artifact or creature is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on equipped creature. So that's really, really good as well. As we move from the armor onto our last few categories, I just want to say, if you guys are finding this deck fun and interesting, please like this video and just jump down into the comments. Let's start some conversation about the Spider-Man set and this particular deck, like what would be fun, how much you would hate playing against it, how much you would love playing it, piloting this deck. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, so let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments. All right, so now let's talk about the spoils of the hunt. What do we get for all of this other than our commander getting paid off? Let's look at the other payoffs. This is going to be things like Blood Artist. Whenever Blood Artist or another creature dies, a target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. We've also got Free Strider Lookout. It's 2 and a green, has reach whenever you commit a crime, and committing a crime means targeting opponents, anything they control, and or cards in their graveyard. That is what constitutes a crime. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You can put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped and put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This ability only triggers once each turn, so this time committing a crime is going to ramp us, which is great. We've also got Haru Specs. Whenever another creature dies, put a 1/1 counter on it, and then you can remove a counter on it and add X mana of any one color. So sort of a mana dork, but also this thing could get pretty big. We've also got Morbid Opportunist, 2 and a black for a human rogue. Whenever 1 or more other creatures die, you get to draw a card. This only triggers once each turn. We've got Ogre Slumlord. Whenever another non-token creature dies, you can create a 1/1 black rat creature token, and then rats we control have Death Touch. We've also got Slaughter Specialist. Whenever it enters the battlefield, each opponent makes a 1/1 human token, and then whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you put a 1/1 counter on Slaughter Specialist. So there are some more creatures in there that can get bigger, but we've also got some other payoffs and stuff too in there, which is helpful because you want death triggers. With all the stuff that's going to be dying, we want to put that to good use, so we've got a little bit of that in here as well. We've also got a ramp package. This is going to be called Fuel for the Hunt because everybody needs to be able to eat. So we've got some mana rocks and some ramp spells and some creature ramp that we've got going on. So we've got Arcane Signet, which taps for a mana of any color in our commander's color order. We've got Farseek, which goes and finds a land, as does Nature's Lore. We've also got Sakura Tribe Elder, which is a creature. You can sacrifice it to go get a basic land and put it onto the battlefield tapped. So that's another death trigger, even though we're sacrificing it, which potentially can make some of our other stuff churn. We've also got Soul Ring. We've got 3 Visits, another ramp spell. We've got Birds of Paradise, which is a really good mana dork. It taps for a mana of any color. We've also got Elves of Deep Shadow, which taps for a black. And then lastly, we just have some bits and pieces here and there that are in the deck. We're putting a lot of counters places, so we've got Hardened Scales here. We've also got Death Reap Ritual. This is 2 black-green for an enchantment that has Morbid at the beginning of each end step. If a creature died this turn, you can draw a card, so that's really good. More card removal is great. That's at every end step, so anytime anything dies at the end of that turn, we get to draw a card. That's really good. We've also got Evolutionary Escalation. This is 1 and a green for an enchantment that says at the beginning of your upkeep, put 3 1/1 counters on a target creature you control and 3 1/1 counters on a target creature an opponent controls. So again, we can make something we want to die be the biggest thing, so then when we kill it, we get that payoff. Very fun. Normally, we don't like putting counters on something else, but if we're just going to kill it anyway, then that's fantastic. We've also got Reanimate. A lot of our stuff is going to die, and maybe we want to bring it back, so Reanimate is good. Also, our opponents are going to have lots of stuff that die, and some of it's going to be really good, guys, and Reanimate then lets us go and get it out of their graveyard and put it onto our battlefield. It's so good. Reanimate is so good in this deck. We've also got Eternal Witness, which is some more recursion. It's 1 green for a human. Shaman, when it enters the battlefield, you can turn a target card from your graveyard to the battlefield, which is great. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the infinite combo we have in this deck. This is Basking Brood Scale, 1 and a green for an Eldrazi Lizard. It has adapt 1, so you can pay that adapt cost and put a 1/1 counter on it if it has no 1/1 counters on it. And then it says whenever 1 or more 1/1 counters are put on Basking Brood Scale, you may create a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature token with sacrifice this creature, add 1 colorless mana. If you equip this with a Blade of the Blood Chief or any of those other spells that are like that, where it says whenever a creature dies, put a 1/1 counter on the equipped creature or the enchanted creature, like Sadistic Glee is the enchantment version of the same thing, we can equip that to the Basking Brood Scale. Then anything that dies is going to trigger that ability to happen, because you're going to put a 1/1 counter on it, and then you're going to make the colorless Eldrazi spawn creature. It's got a sacrifice outlet, so you will literally sacrifice it, add a colorless mana, put a 1/1 counter on the Basking Brood Scale, repeat this process. So you'll have infinite 1/1 counters coming in, you'll have infinite colorless mana coming in. So we could do a whole lot with that. We can make our commander really big, we can make some of our other creatures really huge, we could draw all of our deck if we want to, potentially. This just gives us an infinite combo. We should be able to find a way from there to win the game. If it's happening on our turn, we can just draw until we find that board wipe the board, make the creatures we do have massive, because we can do it all at instant speed. So we can put the 1/1 counters, make the Basking Brood Scale really huge, and just buff up our team enough with some of these other pieces that are going on. You would have to have the setup. It's not like a 2 or 3 card combo, but the Basking Brood Scale and the Blade of the Blood Chief is a infinite combo, but then finding where to dump it out is going to take at least one more card. Something like Blood Artist would drain the board, because every time that Eldrazi spawn dies, that's going to trigger Blood Artist, and that is going to drain our opponents. So some fun stuff there. So that's it. That's Kraven the Hunter. It's a deck that's going to turn your opponent's strongest creatures into fuel for our domination. We are going to be the threat. We're going to be drawing cards. We're going to be growing these big old creatures. We're going to be closing these games out. This deck is super fun. It's political. If you love interaction, this is a really good deck for you. And if you like to embrace that inner villain, that anti-hero, this is a really, really fun build. So thanks for hanging out with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That helps us out a ton. And please check out this video if you enjoy this kind of content. Until the next time, happy hunting, and we will see you later. Bye-bye.